Today is Wednesday, the 15th of April, and I have asked Clare Powell, the TPAS Policy Advisor, to join me on TPAS Member Chat to discuss her latest policy and practice briefing, which will be launched tomorrow for members, and to give me the headlines and the top topics that are placed in this briefing, and for us to discuss policy and practice within housing this week.
Hello, Claire. Thank
Hi.
you very much for joining me on Member Chats.
That's okay. It's nice to hear from you.
So, Claire, what I would like to know is we're about to just publish your latest policy and practice briefing. Can you just talk me through the process you go through to build our policy briefings?
Yeah. So I am kind of constantly really looking at the various sources that I use to put things together. Some of those are things that come out every day. So Inside Housing, for example, they do a kind of daily update. Other things only come out as and when. Updates from the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government, for example, or, maybe there'll be something from the regulator. So there's a variety of things, and I just kind of graze about on them during the week. And then on the day that I come to put the briefing together, I have a look at the various different things that I've collected and kind of ponder which of them I think might be useful to a TPAS audience.
Brilliant. And last week, I've not had sight of this week's one, but last week focused quite a lot on domestic abuse, because we've seen rises in domestic abuse cases. What kind of theme have you concentrated on this week, or has it been more of that as well?
No, this week, one of the things about the current situation is that, with the coronavirus occupying everybody's thoughts all the time, it does mean that there's not that much change in housing policy more generally, which means that there's an opportunity to concentrate on specific themes. I was very keen to talk about domestic abuse because, as you say, there has been an increase in reported abuse, and it's rather depressingly, it's what you'd expect to see. It happens at Christmas, it happens during big sporting events, so it was important to get information out to people on that. The other thing I think is that we need to all start looking to the future. So this week the briefing is concentrating on local government finances a little bit, and housing association finances in particular, because they're going to be quite significantly affected by the way that the virus has affected all of us. So it's affected our working lives. It's affected just things as simple as the way we shop. You used to pop into shops fairly often, and now you go once a week. Or for some people, they're not able to hunt around for bargains in the way they could, and that might seem like just a purely personal thing. But if you can't get the bargains and you're on tight income, then any ability that you might have to make up, for example, to make up the bedroom tax on your rent, that's gone. So things that don't look like they're going to impact housing associations really will. They'll have to find new ways to cope, new ways to support people. And we just don't know what the government is going to come up with by way of, keeping housing associations going, making us able to continue building new social housing, which building new homes is great for the economy in various ways, but of course it's also great for people who need them, not least all of these people, the rough sleepers who've been taken off the streets, and we have to hope will be ready to move into a permanent home by the time their temporary arrangements stop being funded.
And on the finance front, Claire, obviously this is a big worry for, bubbling away from what I can see from our tenant members and our landlord members are thinking about rents. They're both thinking about it, obviously for different reasons. Have you seen any information coming out about what rents might mean for in the social housing sector?
Well, I mean, this April, just 2 weeks ago, people's rents have gone up for the first time in 4 years. And, the timing could hardly be worse in terms of people's financial vulnerability. On the other hand, if you're looking at it as a landlord, they've had to manage the increase in cost of services for 4 years without any increase in rents, which is their main income source. So it's very difficult to see how this situation could be made better for everybody. There's bound to be some people who are unhappy about any solution that people come up with. I think the important thing to remember is that, and I hate to bring evictions up at this stage, but evictions are a failure for everybody. Tenants, of course, worry about losing their home, and it's extremely natural that they would. But I think I've been working for housing organisations for over 30 years now, and I've never met anybody who didn't regard an eviction as a failure. Evictions cost housing associations money. As long as tenants remain in their homes, there's a chance that they'll be able to recover financially and be able to pay their rent and get their arrears down to something they can manage. Once they leave that home, the housing association is never going to get the rent back. So nobody ever wants to evict people, and hopefully it'll be possible to come up with manageable, I won't say solutions because that's not the right word, but just ways of managing things that can keep people in their homes and keep housing associations able to carry on providing services and build new homes. And aside from just visiting the TPAS website and clicking into the Knowledge Hub and downloading your briefing document, which is clearly the most credible source of information, but aside from that, do you recommend any particular places to go for a landlord officer or a tenant to find out information about where they're what the financial implications are with rent in social housing? Is there any particular credible sources that they can go and find information out that's not just speculation? Yeah. I think the best magazine for housing finance, and I hesitate to recommend it because I don't find it an easy read, but it's called Social Housing, and it's a kind of sister publication for Inside Housing. So they're really good on housing finance. You need to get a cup of tea and brace yourself. I was going to say that I have to have a lot of coffee and a good night's sleep. Yeah, it's not an easy read. Inside Housing themselves are really good on this. But the other organisations that I would look to would be the NHF. Obviously, have a particular slant on this because they represent landlords, so they look at all of these things from a landlord perspective, and of course they would. The Chartered Institute of Housing have got, if you Google on them, on their homepage, they've got a coronavirus banner thing at the top of their webpage, and all of their advice on the landlords on dealing with coronavirus is it's free for anybody to access.
Oh,
normally you would have to be an Institute of Housing member, but for the coronavirus stuff, they decided to make it available to everybody. And they're also a really good source. So, those are the ones I'd really recommend easily. The other thing to keep an eye on is the regulator's website, because they produce what they call sector risk analysis, and they haven't done one for coronavirus yet, but every so often they do update things. And focus in on particular issues. So that's what keep an eye out for.
That's a really good one, and obviously, you would keep an eye out on behalf of TPAS members, and as soon as anything goes live on the regulator, we would publish out to members. So thank you.
Yeah. Okay. I think the other thing I think it's worth keeping an eye on is the Money Advice Service, which is it's if you Google on Money Advice Service, it's a gov.uk website, but it's very much customer facing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's great for impartial advice about, the benefit system was complicated enough, and now they've brought out all these temporary fixes that are going to be in place through coronavirus, and we don't know what happens to them afterwards.
Mm.
And, some of them sound great, but you really need to have a little look at them to see whether they actually apply to you.
Yeah.
So, for example, they've uprated the basic allowance in universal credit, which sounds great, unless you're already bumping up against the household income cap, and you're having to lose universal credit because of that. So it doesn't actually get you anywhere.
Mm.
So none of
very,
it
very
is
complicated.
straightforward.
Yeah,
none of it is easy to find your way through.
Yeah.
But the Money Advice Service website is pretty straightforward to look at, I thought.
Mm-hmm. No, that's great advice. Well, thanks so much then, Claire. Like I said, your briefings really do pile on a lot of fantastic information, but it's great to kind of pick through on the phone, where you get your information from. So that's brilliant. I really appreciate your time. And I'll speak to you very soon.
Lovely. Okay. Thanks, Ray.
Thank you, Claire.
Thanks. See you soon.